Here are the answers for the section 13-7 homework. Number 1, find the sum of an infinite geometric series if the first term is 4 and the common ratio is 1/2. Only some infinite series can be summed. And to know if you can sum this up, you have to look at the value of r and make sure that the absolute value of this number is between 0 and 1. And it is. So as soon as you decide that you can sum the series, use the formula. S equals a times 1 minus r. This is on page 516 of the book. So substitute the value of a, 4, and the value of r, which is 1/2. So this is 4 divided by 1/2, which is equal to 8. Number 3, take a look at the value of r. Make sure that the absolute value of this number is between 0 and 1. And it is. So then you can use the sum formula. For a, fill in 0.6, and for r, fill in 0.1. So this becomes 0.6 divided by 0.9, which is 2/3. Number 5, we have a geometric series. From term to term, it looks like it's multiplying by 1/2. And so this can be summed. A minus 1 minus r. Letter A is 2, 1 minus 1/2. So this is 2 divided by 1/2, which is equal to 4. Now number 7. To get from 9 to -6 and from -6 to 4, is it multiplying by a common number? It looks like we're multiplying by -2/3. And from here to here, we're multiplying by -2/3. So this is a geometric series. S equals a divided by 1 minus r. A is 9, and then 1 minus -2/3. This makes a over 5/3. And that makes 9 times 3/5, which is 27 over 5. And now number 9. What's the value of r? It looks like from one term to the next, it's timesing by 1/10. Because 0.1 times 1/10 is 0.01. And 0.01 times 1/10 is 0.001, and so on. So S equals a over 1 minus r. This is 0.1 over 1 minus 0.1. This makes 0.1 over 0.9. And so that answer is 1/9. And number 11. What is the number you times by to go from term to term? Well, 12 divided by 18 reduces to 2/3. So r equals 2/3. 12 is 2/3 of 18. 8 is 2/3 of 12, and so on. So S equals a over 1 minus r. A is 18. R is 2/3. So this is 18 divided by 1/3, and that makes 54. Number 13. This time it says, write the first 3 terms of a geometric progression. So the first term is 3. What are the next 2? And what we have to work with is the sum of the infinite series. So let's use our formula for sum and make the substitution for s and for lowercase a. By solving this out, we can discover what r is equal to. So first step, multiply the 1 minus r to the other side. We have the 10/3 times 1 minus r, and that's equal to 3. Next step, multiply both sides by 3. So we have 10 times 1 minus r is equal to 9. Next step, divide by 10. So now we have 9/10. Next step, subtract 1. So we have -1/10. And finally, r equals +1/10. With that value, we can figure out the missing terms. 3 times 1/10 is 3/10. And 3/10 times 1/10 is 3 over 100. Number 15, a very similar problem, but this time we know the value of r, we don't know a. But let's use the formula again. For the letter S, fill in 18. For the letter R, fill in 2/3. So this makes 18 equals a over 1/3. Now multiply by 1/3 on both sides, we have 6 is equal to a. So now we know the first number is 6. And if r is 2/3, we can times that by 2/3 to get the next number. 2/3 of 6 is 4. And then 2/3 of 4 is 8/3. Number 17. Change the repeating decimal into a equivalent common fraction. So what fraction is 0.5 repeating equal to? Well, you might know that the answer is 5/9. But let's say that you don't know that it's 5/9. What you can do is write out the repeating decimal as a series. It would be 0.5 plus 0.05 plus 0.005 plus 0.0005 plus, and so on forever. So the first number is a, and looking from term to term, we can see that the value of r is 1/10, because 0.5 times 1/10 is 0.05, and so on. And we have an infinite geometric series. So let's use our formula for sum. A over 1 minus r. A is 0.5, and r is 1/10. So this is 0.5 over 0.9, and that makes 5/9. So the fraction 5/9 is equal to the repeating decimal 0.5 repeating. Now we're going back to page 513, where we were summing up geometric series, given the sigma notation. The number in this position was a, and the number that you're multiplying the a by is the r. We have a formula. S sub n is equal to a minus a times r to the n all over 1 minus r. And we want to find the sum of 3 terms. So for a, fill in 5, and for r, fill in 4, and for n, fill in 3. Then simplify on the right side. This makes 105. On a calculator, I typed in the numerator first and pressed enter, and then divided by -3 and pressed enter again. Next, number 10. This time we're asked to find the sum of this geometric progression. And we know the first term, the last term, and the value of r. On page 512 of the book, we have another way to sum up this kind of sequence when we know the first term and the last term. And that formula is S sub n equals a minus r times L divided by 1 minus r. So in problem 2, we used this formula to find the sum, but in problem 10, we're using this formula because it has the letter L in it, and that's part of our given information. Now let's make substitutions. For a, put in 4. For r, put in -3. For L, put in 324. In the denominator, we have 1 minus -3. Then take a calculator to evaluate this. This makes 244. On the calculator, I typed in the numerator first and pushed enter, then divided by 4 and pushed enter again. Now page 514. We have a problem that talks about a wedding cake with 5 different layers. And we're told that each layer is 2/3 as long as the other layer. So for instance, the bottom layer of the cake is the longest. And then stacked on that is another layer, and another layer, a 4th layer, and finally the 5th layer. The distance across that longest layer is 15 inches. And each of the other ones is 2/3 of the previous layer. We want to find the sum of the circumferences of all the layers. So because the question is about circumference and not diameter, we need the formula circumference equals pi times the diameter. If the diameter of the first layer is 15, then the circumference of that layer is 15 pi. The circumference of this next one will be 2/3 of 15 pi, which is 10 pi. And so on, moving up the layers. So we can consider this a series where our first circumference is 15 pi. So I know I wrote 15 inches. That was the diameter, but rereading the question, I see that I want to focus on circumference. So our value of A is 15 pi. Our ratio is 2/3, and we want the sum of 5 cake layers. Yes, let's use the formula. S sub n equals A minus A times r to the n divided by 1 minus r. We're finding the sum of 5 layers. So A is 15 pi. And r is 2/3. Then evaluate this on a calculator. And the result is 122.7.